Good evening. My name is Edward Sanshin Oberholtzer. I'm the resident priest and guiding teacher at the Joseph Priestley Zen Sangha in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. We're part of Empty Moon Zen. The world moves in circles. Day follows night, follows day. Seasons follow seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter, and spring again. The sun will rise tomorrow morning. The stars and planets will follow predictable courses in the night sky. If we don't pay close attention, it would seem that life is an unalterable cycle. But those cycles don't fold in on themselves in unending, unchanging circles. No, as that old Italian Giambattista Vico pointed out, the cycles are a spiral, and when you come around 360 degrees, our place in the world has moved on. Left the past behind like the earth revolving around the sun as the sun in turn revolves around the galactic center, which in turn moves through ever-expanding space through the universe. Even those straight lines we seem to see laid out in front of us, that notion we have of history being the flight of an arrow shot from the past through the present and on into the future, even that seeming straight line may simply be the arc of a circle stretched out too vast for us to notice its curvature, a curvature that may bend in on itself in some unfathomable future, and yet never quite returning to its starting point. Mark Twain is often cited for sayings he never uttered, though he should have. Perhaps you know this one of those non-quotations. If you don't, consider this a gift. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Pure, unadulterated Twain. Succinct, insightful, and just a bit folksy. In this universe, he should have said it, but didn't. Perhaps in some parallel universe, he's putting away his pen, having graced the editorial pages of the New York Times with that little treasure, that observation of long-term change laid atop seeming short-term sameness. In this universe, while we don't have a Buddhist Mark Twain, we do have a practice outside words and texts, just filled with stories. We all have our favorites. One of mine was set out by David Chadwick in Crooked Cucumber, his biography of Shunryo Suzuki, the founder of the San Francisco Zen Center. It seems that one day during the question-answer period after a Dharma talk, Chadwick thought he could provoke Suzuki with an annoying question. The Buddha, confronted with such a question, would simply sit in silence, that famous noble silence. But Suzuki was just not yet that guy. Chadwick raised his hand and asked if Suzuki could summarize Buddhism in one sentence. Instead of the beating he anticipated, he found that Suzuki, after a brief pause, responded, "Everything changes." Not simply one sentence, 2 words. And Suzuki went on to elaborate. Next question. To me, the wonder of the Dharma is that it is all around us, waiting to be found, waiting to be recognized and articulated, whether by a non-existent Mark Twain or by a remarkably unfazed Japanese Zen priest responding to a self-important student. Over half a century ago, I was an undergraduate studying chemistry. The study of the motion of heat, thermodynamics, is an integral part of any course in chemistry, and the second law of thermodynamics is, to my mind, the best summary of the Dharma, of Buddhism, as any I could come up with. Entropy always increases. Everything changes. The world goes from ordered to disordered, not through any metaphysical force, but through the random motion of particles. A splattered egg lying in a mess on the kitchen floor could reassemble itself and hop up onto the counter, but the likelihood of that happening anytime soon, even within the projected lifespan of the universe, is vanishingly small. Things fall apart. The center does not hold. Eggs go from smooth, intact ovoids to scrambled, and not the other way around. This change, this constant motion, this anicca, this first of the three marks of existence, how much of our suffering is bound up in how we react to this? In the Upanajjhana Sutta, the Buddha gave us these 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am born of my deeds and I am their heir. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. We forget. We don't consider the nature of life. We long for what is gone and what will not return. We regret dropping that egg, not having said goodbye to a friend now that it has become too late. We swing weary, arthritic legs out of bed in the morning, remembering a time when we had a spring in our step. We hold tight to the memory of one who can never return. The 18th century Methodist preacher and writer of hymns, John Wesley, reminds us that change and decay in all around I see, O thou that changes not, abide in me. Change and decay I must live with, but the thou that changes not? No, however much we want, not even that, if we pay attention to the Dharma, not even that avoids change. It's easy to serenely say that we're all going to die. I am, after all, of the nature to die. And I've been only too happy to tell that to anyone, whether they ask it or not. It's another thing altogether to look it in the face, particularly when that face is of someone you love. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. But what are we to do? How are we to live with this? Remembrances, those 5 painful truths, this mark of existence, this anicca, how do we see it as anything other than a counsel of despair? Our way of Zen practice is a turning towards whatever arises. Cao Shan asked a monk, "When it's so hot, where do you go to avoid it?" The monk said, "I'll avoid it inside a boiling cauldron, within the coals of a furnace." Cao Shan asked, "How can it be avoided in a boiling cauldron or among the coals of a furnace?" And the monk said, "The multitude of sufferings cannot reach there." Well, I beg to differ. The multitude of sufferings are there, but we can turn toward them. We can become them. We can embrace them. And as we do, for that moment, we, the suffering, our spouses, each of us, all that we hold dear, this very world, are one. And for that moment, for that now, we are present with, we vanish into all eternity. Dongshan knew this, and when a monk asked him, when cold and heat visit us, how should we avoid them? Dongshan said, why not go where there is neither cold nor heat? The monk asked, where is there neither cold nor heat? Dongshan said, when it is cold, the cold kills you. When it is hot, the heat kills you. And so, where does suffering alight? What burns? What freezes? What grieves? In the midst of change, what can we do but hear the words of Leonard Cohen? And so, my friends, be not afraid. We are so lightly here. We are here, ever so lightly, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. But here, what can we do but dance? Thank you.